on that very first day of hunting, we actually were, because we were driving around in a very well kitted out car that was required for us to be literally 300 kilometers away from any other human being. That's how far away, that's how remote it was. And so we were driving that distance away from anywhere in this super remote indigenous land, of which Adam's friends who are indigenous people had given him and myself permission to be on. And it's the first day of hunting, about a third of the way into the day. And Adam has spotted a wild pig. And so we parked about 100 meters away from where we could see that it was sleeping. And we spent about 30 to 60 minutes walking 5 centimeters at a time in a stalk. So we're stalking this pig. And I was already feeling anxious about the fact that I may, if we stalk effectively, have the opportunity to get some food, because I was fasting unless I was to catch something. And I'd already been fasting for 2 days because I started fasting before I got there, before I flew up and whatnot. And so it had already been a couple of days since I'd eaten, and I was feeling a little bit thrown into the experience. It was jarring to know, holy crap, I could already be having to face the killing of an animal. That was the thing that I was most nervous of. And so we stalked, and then I got to the point where I was in shooting range, and Adam had already pre-framed, where do you have to shoot it? How do you need to shoot it with a bow and arrow? And to be honest with you, I was in a bit of freeze response. Like I was in slow motion. I was very nervous, and pulled back the bow, took my aim, and shot. And it was all happening so fast. But what happened was this pig that was sleeping, wild pig. And one thing to pre-frame is that wild animals are very different to domesticated farm animals. I found out quickly. Adam had almost been killed by a wild pig in the past that bowled him over and then had its tusks coming out of its mouth and was shoveling its tusks, trying to find the artery in his leg to kill him. And it actually put the tusk through his hand as it was attacking him. And he got lucky that it got scared off and bailed, but he would have died otherwise. So they can be huge and they can be very dangerous. And so it wasn't just a matter of, can you take fire before it runs off? It was, if you let it see you, it's going to charge. So be careful. And so anyway, take aim, fire. The arrow that I shoot goes right next to its heart. And ideally, when hunting, I found out you want to shoot it through the heart so that it dies relatively quickly. But I just missed. And so it was still going to die. It was just going to take a little bit longer. And what happened was that the boar got hit, it was kind of laying down asleep, and then it kind of stood up, a little bit confused, walked around a little bit, having a look, and it did a big circle, and then it went back to the exact same spot. So it probably took like 5 minutes having a little walk around, seeing what happened. It was very relaxed, but it was a bit confused. And then, boom, second shot straight through the heart. And then it's walked a few, maybe 10 meters away, and then fell down and passed away. And this was my first experience of hunting an animal and killing an animal. And I was expecting it to be ruthless. I was expecting it to be like savage, but it was very, very peaceful. It was very, very relaxed because we were in camouflage. It could barely see us. It wasn't scared. It wasn't running. It just was relaxed. It was obviously confused, but I don't know if you guys listening have ever been hit by something incredibly hard. Like, for example, once when I was playing golf, someone hit the golf ball from like 200 meters away and it hit me in the back of the leg. And it didn't feel, it hit me so hard, maybe going 150 Ks an hour or something like that. And it did some damage there, but it just kind of felt like I got, like because it happened so fast and it was so intense. I didn't really know what happened because it was, if that makes sense. And it felt like a similar experience, even though this pig got shot. It happened so fast and the arrow goes through so quickly and intensely. It doesn't know it didn't know what had happened. It was just a little bit kind of like, whew, what, my body feels a little bit weird. But why is that like that? What's going on? And so I was just really surprised at how actually peaceful the experience was. And because I was being taught by someone that is a man of high integrity, that takes a lot of care in the way that he hunts animals, it was a sacred experience. And what sacred means to me is something that is special and intentional. So that's how I describe the word sacred. And so it was special. It was special because it was done with honor and reverence, and it was very intentional. It was for a specific reason. It was to eat. And that was that first experience. And after the animal had passed, I took some time with it and just sat with it and had my hand on it and honored it. And I was just blown away at how seamless the experience was. And I was like, wow, we're going to get to eat wild caught meat on this first day. I was wrong, because after then getting a hunting knife or a processing knife, and Adam was showing me how to process a wild animal, and I got in there and this pig actually had worms, and it's not relevant to know how to detect that, but Adam's an expert and he did, which meant that it was going to be dangerous for us to eat it. And nothing goes to waste in there. So a bunch of other animals would have come and eaten it anyway. And it was quite old, so it was towards the end of its life. But here I was thinking, wow, I'm going to get a feast right like only a couple of days in. And I was like, wow, this is my first day hunting, first shot, and I was able to catch something. I'm just going to have an absolute, like, it's going to be so easy out here. And it wasn't that way at all. I didn't end up eating for several more days. And yeah, I'll get to that with another story. But just kicking off first, telling that first story, I was shocked at how peaceful that experience was of hunting with a bow. And I was thinking running down an animal would be way more peaceful and like way more organic and natural than hunting with a bow and arrow. But I actually did run down some pigs on the last day, just to fast track to that experience. And it was brutal. It was brutal. I was chasing this pig down and it was screeching and screaming and running for its life in terror. And I was like, far out. And in order to grab it, it's dangerous. I had to literally kick its hind legs out and then grab it. And then I sat with this pig holding its legs kind of like a wheelbarrow so it couldn't run away. And then Adam had run off somewhere else. Just pre-frame the explicit nature of what I'm going to go through here and talk about here. But yeah, as I was waiting with this pig, I knew, holy crap, I was going to have to kill this animal. And it was just panting. It was exhausted after the run. I was exhausted. And it was like trying to get away, but it couldn't because it was so difficult to, because I was grabbing its hind legs. And I had to, that was really difficult and so much more difficult than that first kill on the first day, because I felt like I'd connected with it and it knew that I was there. It was nervous. It was in a fight or flight response. It was aggressive as well. But at this stage of just holding it, it was more, I was just kind of projecting that it was feeling terrified, and I was just waiting for Adam, who would run off in another direction, to come back to get his guidance on what I could do next because I had a hunting knife. So I knew that I was going to have to stab this pig in the heart with a knife. And I was super nervous about that. And I was just trying to talk myself through it and ground into that reality. And that felt a lot more intense than it did to shoot the animal with a bow and arrow. That was super peaceful, super humane. If there is a humane way to eat an animal or kill an animal, it was definitely the most humane way. But yeah, I was waiting there knowing that I was going to have to stab and kill this wild pig. And then 10 minutes later, Adam comes back. And I was like, all right, mate, what do I have to do? And he was like, oh, you don't have to kill it. We've got enough meat. And I was like, what? This whole time I've been freaking out that I'm going to have to kill this animal. And I was like, man, I've just hyped myself up to this and I don't even have to do it now. But then what happened was the second that Adam got within distance of myself and this wild pig, the wild pig just turned into an absolute feral savage trying to kill him. It was making all these loud animalistic sounds and just going at him. And I was like, whoa, this whole time, because it wasn't doing that to me while I was holding it. And Adam's like, when you let this pig go, it is going to try to attack you. And so I kind of got myself ready to run and jump into the car. And I kind of threw it off in a way and then sprinted, and it just turned around at me, just like threatening to go me. And I kind of realized then this is being in nature it is a full experience. There is a lot more to this than the way that we're sheltered to as the average person in the Western world. The killing of animals. There can be some real savagery in there, and it's survival versus survival. It's survival versus survival. So that was my first kind of experience in this.